Welcome back to OutCast. Our first guest is a captain in the Army Reserves, a combat veteran, and a native of Central Texas. Born and raised in Belton, Texas, he is a third-generation Latino-American and the first in his family to graduate from college. He's now running for Congress to unseat Congressman John Carter in Texas's 31st Congressional District. And he just also happens to be openly gay. Louie Minor, welcome to OutCast.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming in. So tell us about yourself. What do people need to know about Louie Minor for Congress?
Well, first of all, I'm a lifelong, public servant. I've served in law enforcement, 10 years in the military, Iraq veteran, and I work for the Department of Homeland Security in Washington, D.C. So that's what I look forward to bring to Congress, service to everyone, regardless of your party, of your race, of your gender, educational background.
Well, let me first start off by saying thank you very much for your service to this country.
Thank you.
That is quite an impressive list of ways to serve. So you're also a proud father.
I am. Very proud. Very proud.
Boy, girl, one of each?
I have a 15-year-old daughter, and she's supposed to be listening, so hello.
Oh, hey. What's your name?
Alex.
Hello, Alex. You should be very proud of you, Daddy. So what did you do for Homeland Security?
So I worked in headquarters in Department of Homeland Security Operations, the NOC, the National Operations Center. So we serviced all the major subcomponents of DHS. They would report to us. We would write a report, send it to the Secretary and to the White House on things from anywhere from the Boston bombing, Hurricane Sandy, and just everything that happens in and around the United States.
And tell us about Iraq. You were a combat veteran.
Yes.
You were in the Army.
Correct.
Right. So how many tours did you do?
I did one tour. It was 14 months in Baghdad. And, that time, I did two missions. I was there for so long. We ran missions outside the wire. And then we also, I was a battle captain. So I was responsible for the base area defense of the VBC, Victory Base Complex.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's very impressive. So let's go back to Belton. So tell us what it was like growing up gay in Belton.
Well, I don't think my story is very uncommon than a lot of people, that grow up in small town. You have to hide who you are. You have to try and fit in a mold that you do not fit into, mm-hmm. and live that life. So luckily, times are changing, and I'm very excited to be, present and be able to affect change, and that's what I'm looking to do. Wow.
So you lived there your whole life. Belton's, but what, 10,000?
It's almost at 20 right now.
Oh, really?
But whenever growing up, it was around 12,000, I think 15,000.
Wow. And that's people know Belton because of the Bell County Expo Center. When you're
mm-hmm.
driving north on I-35, right? It's
Correct.
The big silver dome, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just to give people a geographical reference of what we're talking about here. Tell me, if you will, what was your process like when you were coming to terms with being gay? And
mm-hmm.
These are very macho. Positions that you had. You were law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
You were in the Army under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Homeland Security. I mean, did you have to live in the closet while you had these positions?
Well, I evolved. Obviously, I have a daughter. I was married, but after that, I realized that that was not me. So. I think being in the military, going out serving, going all over the country, and being exposed to diversity kind of, opened up my eyes to who I am, what I want to represent, and finding out who I really am.
Wow. Well, everybody's got, the reason I asked is everybody's got their own unique story, and, it's just, I find it very interesting, mm-hmm. How people, arrive at the decision to actually be true to themselves.
It was the Army that did it for me. To be honest with you. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me.
Well, like I said, because I traveled around the country.
Uh-huh.
I was stationed in Seattle area. I was stationed at Fort Benning, or close to Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
I was in D.C. So I've been stationed, all over the place and trained all over the place. So, just that different exposure, being on my own, away from the family, and
yeah, give you time to learn about yourself and be true to yourself. Did you go from the Army into law enforcement, or from the law enforcement into the Army?
Law enforcement into the Army.
Oh, so were you a police officer in Belton?
Bell County, yes. I worked
sheriff deputy.
Yes, a deputy constable at the time.
Oh, very cool. Was that like your first job?
No. I worked at a factory first out of high school. I didn't go to college at first. I was done with school, so I got a factory job and worked there for a couple of years. And then I realized that I could do more, and I wanted to start pushing myself. And that's whenever I started going to school. I watched cops growing up, and that excited me, wanting to be a police officer.
Yeah.
Serve the community, and that's what I went after.
So you were the first person in your family to go to college. Is that right?
Correct. To complete, yes.
Oh, to complete college.
Yes.
Oh, wow. So they must be very, very proud of you.
Yes, I would like to think they are.
Yeah?
Yes.
You've got a big family up in Belton?
Very, very large family, yes.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
Well, just I have one older sister, two younger ones, but a lot of cousins, uncles, aunts, and everything. So yeah, it's very large.
And your parents are still there?
Yes.
Oh, very cool. Did they ever think that their little Louie would grow up to be this guy that traveled the world with the military and now is running for Congress?
I don't think anyone in my family thought while I was growing up that would happen. I was the first in my family to be a police officer, graduate, an officer in the military, and now I'm the first one to run for office. So
wow.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited. It's a great opportunity for my family and for everyone in the district.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm telling you, they must be so proud of you. So let's go back to your military service here. And you mentioned that you were stationed mostly in Baghdad and Iraq and everything. And you were serving under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So it was still the law of the military code of conduct while you were there. Were you, how do I ask this? Were you out to any of your immediate coworkers?
No. I've been asked this question several times, serving under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And, I've told the story that, it didn't change for me because, I have a daughter. No one really questioned my sexuality. But now looking in retrospect, it was wrong that I couldn't be who I wanted to be. I lived two separate lives. I worked and I kept work separate from what I did, on my personal time. And I maintained that. I never had that crossover. And, I think that's wrong. I just wanted one day to, put up a picture of the person I care about, the person I love, on my desk like everyone else.
Like everyone else is doing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I'm really looking to, represent Texas and bring that to the forefront.
Yeah. So, so were you out by the time Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed?
Yes.
Yes.
So I was excited. I was watching. I think it was a Saturday. I sat there and I was drinking my coffee. I was sitting there watching the votes as they came in. So, yeah.
Yeah. So was that a very special moment for you?
Yeah, I think so. For everyone, it should be for the country.
Do you still maintain contact with your comrades from the military?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. They have any problem with you since you've come out?
No, not at all. Not at all. That's one thing that, the military has always been, at the forefront of social change, because it takes just takes the president or the secretary of defense to say, hey, no more.
Right.
And that's it. You have to comply.
Yeah, exactly like when Truman integrated the armed forces back in the 40s.
Absolutely.
People went nuts.
They said the same thing that they said.
They used the exact same arguments that they use for Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Mm-hmm. Unit cohesiveness, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, well, speaking of battles, let's talk about this uphill battle you've got yourself into here. You are going up against a sitting Republican in the state of Texas, not just the state of Texas, but in central Texas, which is one of our more conservative areas of the state. Mm-hmm. that seems like a Herculean task to me. So tell me, tell me about your plan to send Mr. Carter packing from Washington, D.C.
Well, what we're doing here in the district is really great. We're working with the Democratic Party in both counties. We're working with Battleground Texas. We're working with the unions, and I'm a veteran. All my family's from that area, so I think getting all those bases organized on a single message with a single mindset to get out and vote is really going to change things. A lot of people are underestimating, I think, what we're capable of doing. Texas is not a red state. Texas is a non-voting state, and once we energize that base to get them to come out and vote, people are going to realize that. And you've seen that in the special House district race that Celia just won, and things are changing.
Yeah, so you've got Fort Hood is in this district, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
The largest Army base in the country, is that correct?
Yes, the continental United States.
Yeah. How many, like 500,000 military personnel there?
No. I think it's around, I think it's the population with, spouses and all that stuff. It's about 60,000.
Oh, is that all? I thought there were a lot more stationed there.
There have been at times.
Yeah.
Like when we're leading up to...
but they're probably all in
deployed.
Afghanistan or deployed somewhere else.
But
right?
the interesting thing, there are a lot of retirees in the district. This has one of the highest concentration of military retirees.
Like Copper's Cove. And
Copper's Cove, Belton, Temple, Killeen, even down in Williamson County. And, people are scared in Fort Hood. They're afraid of downsizing. And I think even if you go out to 6th Street here in Austin, you see a lot of military haircuts around there. So Fort Hood affects the economy, not only just in Bell County or Williamson County, here in Travis County as well.
And probably as far north as Dallas, too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of young guys with a lot of cash in their pocket, with nothing else to do on a weekend, right? Yeah. So that sounds like a pretty formidable coalition you've got. You mentioned you've got the Hispanic community, the labor unions, the military community, and tell me about John Carter. I mean, is he military?
No, he's not. He's not. He's a retired judge.
Oh, is he?
Yes,
okay.
And he's been an elected official for a long time. He retired. He retired from office, and then he ran for Congress.
How long has he held this seat?
10 years since it was created.
So he's 5-term congressman.
Yes.
Okay. And does he make any noise about retiring ever, or is he?
No, I think he'll stay there as long as people keep on voting for him. He's really never had any opposition, any serious opposition, but that's changing this election.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about you? Are you the only Democrat running for the seat?
Yes, I am.
You're okay. So you don't have to do a primary or anything like that?
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're focusing on November and doing our backwards planning from there.
Okay. That sounds fantastic. We are running up against our break here, so why don't we take a quick break, and we will continue our conversation with congressional candidate Louie Minor right after this. Stay with us.